Good evening, everyone. This is the public service meeting on October 10th, 2023. To my right is Ward 3 Councilor David Bartley. My name is Peter TALLMAN. I'm the chairman. And shortly, Will PUELLO will be joining us from Ward 2. Take a motion to take number 1 off the table.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor. Honorable Councilors, subject to your approval in accordance with Chapter 18, Article 3, Section 18-95, I hereby appoint the following individual to local historic district commission effective immediately. Miss Katie Hopkinson. Miss Hopkinson will replace Christine Berge and will serve a 3-year term. Said term will expire July 1st, 2026. And we do have Katie here online. Councilor Puello is just joining us. Katie? If you can unmute.
Yeah, she's muted.
I don't know if you can hear us or not. Okay, Katie, can you hear us? You're muted.
I can.
Okay, great. Good evening. Catherine, Kate, thank you for joining us tonight, and we're happy to have you here to volunteer for your services on this board. We usually have you give you a little brief description of why you want to serve and your background, and then we'll have a couple questions for you after that. So it's on you, a few minutes, and let us know what you're all about.
So I actually, one of my first introductions to the neighborhood, I recently moved here from the Boston area. I bought a house in Holyoke, and one of my first introductions to the neighborhood, besides just walking around and meeting my new neighbors, was trying to figure out how to fix everything up. And I got in touch fairly early on in the purchase process with the local historic commission because my house was located on Fairfield. And they've just been like a great help and a great resource, not only, walking me through the process of sort of applying to get the approval for everything, but, just encouraging and kind of welcoming to the neighborhood. But I did notice that it was all volunteer, it's kind of tight on resources, and there are only so many people that represent owners of our one and only historic district. So, being kind of a community-minded person myself, and figuring, if I'm going to live here, I might as well live here. I decided to apply to become another member of the local historic commission.
Thank you so much, and it's great that you get involved right away when you bought a house. How long have you been here in the city?
Yeah, just since May. It actually took me a while to move out here because there were some things I had to do before I could actually, move in. But I've been living here full time since this summer.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you so much, and you're in a great neighborhood there up in the Highlands. We have any questions, Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just Peter, is this for the Fairfield Historic District?
No, I think it's a local historic. I think it's.
That's
Yeah, it's a local historic district. Yeah.
Is it for Fairfield or is it for our historic commission? Do we know, Kate?
So it's the local historic commission, but we only really have one local historic area so far.
Right.
So I am in the Fairfield, but hopefully, we'll add to that as time goes on.
Right. Yeah. This is for the local one, and historic Fairfield is a separate one.
Okay. So
Sorry.
Yeah. Christine Berge.
Yeah, she was on the actual, yeah.
The full one.
Yeah.
Okay, the citywide one.
City. Yeah. This is
All
a citywide
I
one.
wish it just said Holyoke Historical Commission, but that would have lessened my confusion. Well, thank you very much for applying. We're just recommend people. That's all we do, and then we'll take a vote at the full city council, as Pete will momentarily explain to you. But for right now, your resume is really pretty impressive, and especially with with all the accounting background that you have, it's really it'll make for a pretty diverse board when you think about it. So, tell me a little bit about your educational background, if you would.
Yeah, so actually, I have kind of a colorful history. Originally, I went to school for physics, so I had kind of a heavy math background. But then, I didn't want to get my doctorate. I kind of ran away and ended up, living in Vermont for a while, working as, a bunch of odd jobs like baker, just running shops. And I eventually went back to school and got my degree in accounting because, a lot of the people that I was working for, they would move up to Vermont, they'd retire, they'd have like the second kind of dream job, and they'd open up, whatever business that they really wanted to do and kind of relax during their retirement. But it turned out not a lot of them knew about accounting. So I kind of just became sort of a pinch hitter consultant up there. And when I moved back to Boston, I ended up, pursuing it more seriously. So if you see like the most recent work I've done, I did a little bit for, logistics firms, a patent law firm, but I settled at the Division of Banks, which is a state regulator that oversees our banking and financial industry. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty familiar with what you do as a bank examiner, and I'm familiar with the Division of Banks too. One of our good friends runs the Polish National, and that's where he started his career as a bank examiner for at least a dozen years, and then he went on to be executive director. But having that kind of a background, it brings a unique perspective, the accounting, financial background to anything. And so my hope is that you'll really enjoy your term in office, and then you'll give back to the city as much as you can in the future, because I'm sure the city could use your skill set elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I just also want to say that this meeting is taped, it's on Zoom, and it's on the channel 15, the local access channel. Councilor PUELLO, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Christine's who you're replacing. I just want to say thanks for volunteering and thanks for doing this. So my question was, are you up to date on all the issues going on with the commission? And if I could pick your brain maybe a little bit on the Lady Guadalupe Church and where you kind of saw that going and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I am not up to date as I would like to be, but I am getting caught up, and I have, actually it kind of came up in my conversation when I went to meet the mayor. The issues going back and forth on that. I have seen the church. It's beautiful, and it's interesting. Like, it's definitely worth preserving. And what's kind of fascinating about this issue is that, like, again, I'm coming from an area where, you go to kind of the far ends to preserve really old architecture, and particularly churches and Catholic churches tend to have like this incredibly, ornate Gothic style that has just been like an anchor for communities for years. Aside from just like the sentimental value of having like the building of the church maintained. And there are a lot of opportunities to sort of convert it into maybe not religious use, but, some sort of beneficial use for the community going forward and still maintaining that location as sort of like a point in pride to like maintain the history of that neighborhood. Churches traditionally are kind of an anchor of different areas, and they contain a lot of history and a lot of sentimental value with it. So, I can understand the church's position where it sounds like they just, it's a huge liability for them. They just want to offload it in the simplest way possible. But I also think that, it would be worthwhile to explore all available options to sort of maintain that. And again, like, I am just coming in from the outside of it. I've only heard kind of the outline of what is going on with the church. But I personally would strive to, make every effort to see if it can be saved.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. I have no follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Kate, and I really appreciate you stepping in, and quite a resume. And I think this is just moving into the city and want to get involved. I really commend you for that, because sometimes people are here their whole lifetime and don't get involved in their community, and you stepping up, and especially with your background, it's a credit to you to willing to do this. So I could take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend a candidate to the full city council.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Kate. We'll bring this forward, recommend your approval to this board, to the full city council on next Tuesday, which will be let's see, today's the 10th, the 17th. And you can come down if you want, or you can watch it on TV. But I appreciate you stepping up, and good luck.
Yeah, hopefully sorry, I wanted to be there in person. I'm covering a bit from a cold. It's not COVID, but I didn't want to
That's okay.
risk anything with you guys.
That's the benefit of the Zoom. Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to take number 2 off the table.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item number 2 is introduced by Councilor Todd McGee, Tessa Murphy-Romboletti, and myself, ordered that the Veteran Service Director be invited to describe development of a regional veteran services district in collaboration with surrounding communities, and that the City Council approve the district as a way to improve service to veterans in the region by sharing knowledge, experience, and resources between the participating communities. Taken off the table for discussion? All in favor? Aye. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Councilors. Jesus Pereira, Director of Veteran Services for the City of Holyoke. To my left is Michael Slater, who's the Director of Veteran Services for the town of South Hadley. Over the years, we have sort of positioned ourselves with realigning the job descriptions and jobs within the Veteran Service Department to best fit the needs of the veterans of the City of Holyoke. We now have the only Veteran Service Officer that's a National Service Officer in our staff, by title, by pay, which no other department has in the state. And then we have a Chapter 115 investigator, which everyone has across the state. So we really have leveraged the federal benefits side to offset a lot of the income that our veterans were needing in Holyoke to reduce our Chapter 115 layout. And you've seen that over the years, where at one point when I came in, we were spending about $400,000 a year on Chapter 115, and we're about down to $250, $200 over the years. What has happened as a consequence of that is we started seeing veterans coming in from neighboring communities looking for assistance with the federal claims, with benefits assistance, which we did from the bottom of our heart for quite a long time, right? Until it started to become more work than we were expecting. We were doing free work for other communities, and I think it's time to sort of regionalize, start offering these services to neighboring communities, but while also increasing the amount of FTEs in the city, increasing pay, and bringing in quite a bit of money from these surrounding communities through an IMA. What you have in front of you is a proposal. That it's just a proposal with the numbers that we have for if all 5 communities participated. And basically the bottom line here is we're looking at Holyoke spends about $215,000 a year just for services, right, in this department. We're talking about sick leave buyback, vacation buyback, life insurance, in-state travel, out-of-state travel, entertainment, salaries. And that comes out of our coffers no matter what. If we happen to get everyone on this district on board, we would go from about $215,000 to about $166,000. All while getting about $40,000 from one community, $125,000 from another community, $32,000 from another community, $28,000 from another community, and $120,000 from another community. All those dollars would come right into the City of Holyoke to help offset, of course, higher salaries, another FTE, and in our services. We've been in contact with the Select Board in South Hadley, the Select Board in Granby. We've talked to the town manager in Amherst, mayor in Amherst now, whatever they are. They're in the middle there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so far, and we are currently under an IMA with East Hampton and providing services for them for a short period of time. And we're currently charging them, moving forward, it'll be $10,000 a month to cover because they recently lost their veteran service director. This is just an opportunity to take our talents to the region, since we're helping out the region anyway, and reducing the outlay that the City of Holyoke has to put out for the department.
Okay. Anything to add, Mike?
So I think one of the key things to look at when you, from an outside community looking in, all the other communities are single staff offices. So like East Hampton lost their director, they've been out without services, so they have to contract it out. This model with 4 or 5 FTEs provides a redundancy in office that no community is going to go without veteran services. And it gives the smaller communities a greater access to those services that they can't afford on their own. So it allows them to buy into a bigger programmed office and be able to better serve those veterans in those communities. And I think that's really one of the best things about a larger regionalized office is that redundancy in positions and providing a higher level of service.
Okay. Any questions, Councilor Bartley? I know we just got the flyer tonight, so I mean, the booklet, so we'll have some questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks. Just through the chair. So thank you, Jesus and Mike, for being here tonight. There's probably a lot of questions I could have, but I'm not. Jesus, so you've announced that you're moving on to another position. So when does that happen?
Sure. So my last day in the city of Holyoke will be the last day of this month, and I start in Illinois November 1st.
Okay. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Now, I take it this is not a contingent upon, it can't be contingent upon you being here, but since you and Michael probably initiated it, what does your successor have to do to just to see this come to fruition?
Well, luckily, we have a pretty open communication in our office. Mike and I have been to most of our meetings together with the different legislative bodies, and I've briefed my staff as to what's going on, down to the last detail. We'll have an interim director, I would suspect, who can carry out this without me. This has zero to do with Jesus Pereira and everything to do with the department that the Holyoke offers to the surrounding communities. Wilfredo Melendez and Luz are just phenomenal employees. They're the ones who carry the workload.
Okay, and has this been tried elsewhere?
So this isn't new at all. There's 20-something districts. They call them districts in the state of Massachusetts. Greenfield and Northampton each have a district. They have around 20 towns or so in their districts. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're using better models, and we're using a better pricing mechanism than what other districts have, which is why it's so enticing for other communities to join us. Other districts charge by the total population of the municipality. Their portion is prorated by the size of their municipality rather than the veteran population. We're using the veteran population model. So if you have 40 veterans, we're going to charge you that percentage based off of the total amount of veterans that we have in the district.
And then I'm glad that we're not reinventing the wheel. That's good news. So in terms of the administrative procedure to set this up, I would imagine that we would probably need an ordinance change. And do we have to get approval from the state legislature? Are you familiar with that?
So yes. So any town that comes together with the city of Holyoke to form the formal district would have to go through the Executive Office of Veteran Services for approval. And once you create that bona fide district, it's a living thing. It's there. The district uses an IMA as its mechanism to create and outline the scope of work and how to enter and exit the district. Most of them leave them to like the end of the year, to announce they're leaving, and then they can leave the fiscal year, beginning the next fiscal year. So all that's already been done.
Oh, really?
There's a template that's made.
Okay, so where are we with the surrounding communities, with your East Hamptons and South Hadleys and Granby and Amherst? Are they, do we have a sense of their position at this point?
Sure. So we've met with all the communities minus Hadley recently, where we have buy-in from the select board in Granby, buy-in from the select board in South Hadley. The mayor in East Hampton is on board. We currently have an IMA with them now. We're servicing their veterans now. And we're just working out details with Amherst.
And they probably indicated that they're interested, I suppose.
They're very interested because our model gives them a $60,000 savings a year.
Well, that sounds wonderful. So we're going to move this out of committee tonight, I would presume, and then we'll just report back to city council as complied with. But now we have to get a mechanism to to get it into ordinance and all that. I mean,
Sure. So I would suspect the next thing that would happen is, one, get the buy-in from the city council. If you publicly can say you're on board with this idea, then we could move forward with creating an actual IMA with all the communities and work from there. Because without that, we can't present one. Without knowing that the city council is on board, we can't present one. And these numbers are flexible. That's something, nothing in this proposal is set in stone. There's variables here. Right now, we only have 4 FTEs. Once we do become a district, because Mike would join our district, the city of Holyoke would be the host community for the time being. And that means we have 1 more FTE out there that we may or may not fund right away. We don't know yet. There's some variables there, but either way, it's a significant savings for the city.
And what do the veterans say about this at this point? Maybe Michael wants to speak to that. What about the veterans in South Hadley and Granby? Maybe have you heard what their take is?
Yeah, so they are, Granby number 1 right now is serviced by a part-time veteran service officer who has 2 other jobs. So he works 6 hours in the town of Granby. If they call and it's not that 6-hour window, they have to wait for him to return the call the following week. So they're 100% on board with an office that they can call into 5 days a week and have a question answered or set an appointment to move forward in gaining whatever benefit they're applying for. For South Hadley, again, they're interested because right now it's one person. So like if I'm out sick or I go on vacation, there's no redundancy in that office. And so they're excited for that too, and to bring in more like VA accredited people to be able to work the federal claim side of things, because that's really how we bring savings to the community. We reduce 115, which is a dollar for dollar program, by finding money elsewhere. And the number one way to do that is with the VA. And that's the model that Jesus has built here that's been unbelievably successful. So to be able to grow that model out and not have to try to recreate it ourselves in these other communities is huge, because he's got the people that are trained. You know, they have the capacity, and that's one of the reasons we're looking to start it here. Holyoke's large enough that it can grow here.
Okay, and I see the way the order's worded, that the city council approved the district as a way to improve services, et cetera. So I'm going to make a leap and say that we're going to approve this. So we take the vote next week. Then what?
Then Lisa Ball would get together with the other solicitors from other communities and start drafting an IMA that everyone can approve on. This is where the details matter, because one community may want us to be there once or twice a week, and maybe we can't offer that or can't. So there's some details on how often we'll have office hours in every community. But to their benefit, they have access to us 5 days a week. So like East Hampton, for instance, they only work 4 days a week. So their veterans have nobody on Friday. So we get a lot of phone calls on Friday from East Hampton right now. And that's, I mean, we're bringing a lot of value to these other communities. So we'll get with the solicitor and start working on an IMA that we can all agree on.
Okay, thanks, Pete.
I just have a couple of questions, just for the public and my side. I know you mentioned the IMA. Could you explain what IMA is and the FTEs so the people at home know?
Oh, sure. So an IMA is an intermunicipal agreement.
Okay.
It's an agreement between 2 municipalities, and it outlines the scope of work, for what duration and for how much. Then it's signed by mayors and town managers of each community. And an FTE is a full-time employee. Currently, with what we have now, once we bring Mike in, it'll be 4 FTEs. We're looking to add 1 more person. And again, I walked in, I was very, very, very clear with everyone. I have zero intention on bringing in other work for the same amount of money that we're getting paid now. The idea is to create new position descriptions with higher salaries, and that's reflected in the current proposal that you have. So even with the higher salaries and another FTE, it still costs us significantly less to run this district by partnering with these other communities.
Okay. And you also mentioned Hadley. Now, is that something you're going to try to get to before next week to talk to, or because that's in here, Hadley, but you said you haven't talked to them yet?
So let me give you the real impact of having a community like Hadley involved or not. Right now, you see some proposed assessments in you. Those numbers will shift a little bit. Say Hadley didn't participate. I had a fancy spreadsheet over here. I apologize. They have 296 veterans, which is 5.4% of the total cost of the whole district, right? So we have a total assessment of well, the total cost, $570,000. They're paying 5.4% of that, which is about $23,000. If they don't participate, then the other communities have to share that $23,000 in additional expenses. So you're talking about maybe $7,000, $8,000 each or something, or less. So
For the other communities.
the other communities, yeah, their assessments would go up, to include Holyoke.
Okay. And it gives it the populations here and everything. You're talking about impoverished. You're talking people that
That's
need.
total. That's total people in need, not just specifically veterans, but we're looking at impoverished levels in each community. So what we were looking at was what other value can we bring those communities? How many VA claims have already been processed in those communities, and how many can we still possibly do? So we're looking at the impoverished level. We're looking at how many claims have already been adjudicated in those towns and how many veterans they have. So we're looking at the difference between how many claims have already been done versus the total veterans. And there's a number in there that we can possibly increase for VA claims.
And this also can be a moving target too, right?
Sure.
Because veterans die, then you get veterans that are out of the service.
Correct.
They get out and now they're starting to look for benefits or help. So, but it's a rough number that, pretty much
Right,
doesn't
and we're
change
looking
too
at
much.
our last census for information too, so
Okay.
that's where we're getting that from.
Okay. And you can explain a little bit more about the 150, is it the 115?
Chapter 115.
Yeah, how
Sure.
does that work basically?
So for the public, Chapter 115 is a public assistance program for veterans. So Part 1, Title 17 of the Mass General Law is public assistance. We have our own chapter, which is 115, which is for veterans. So anyone who's at or about 200% of the poverty level may apply to see if they can qualify for our program. That program pays for medical reimbursement. They give you fuel expenses if you qualify, rental expenses. It could be, we have a family on it now that we're paying almost $2,000 a month, right? So the goal, now that money comes from our tax dollars, from the funds that we raise from our property taxes. And after we spend the money, we ask the state for a reimbursement on most of it. So we get about 75% of that back from the state. But if we can get them on federal dollars, so non-service connected pension, which is a means tested program by the VA, direct VA disability compensation, that gives them direct dollars that now we have to now we can reduce the Chapter 115 layout, if not get them off altogether, but then also make them VA health eligible. So now they're eligible to get VA health care, which for me, it's like free glasses, free hearing aids. There's a lot of things that come along with VA healthcare.
Right.
And now they're no longer coming to us for payment money for their doctor's appointments and things like that. Each community will still be responsible for paying their share of the Chapter 115. So each participating town still needs to set aside money for that as well. So there's personnel expenses, and then there's the Chapter 115 expenses. Those are the two big lines that they have to worry about.
Okay, so if you get the numbers down to 115, you get people into the federal VA, so you're saving money there. Because the state gives you back 75% of the.
Yeah, it's a total change in lifestyle too. When you go from getting $300 or $400 from us to getting $1,900. So, for instance, someone who's 100% disably rated by the VA, that's like $3,900 tax free. And not only that, you get an abatement on your property, and then the state gives you another $2,000 a year. So
That's for 100%.
Yeah, for 100% disabled, and that's a significant amount of money for anyone.
Yeah.
So we focused the last few years on I came here years ago talking about getting VA accredited, and Wilfredo Melendez was already accredited with the OGC for the VA, the Office of General Counsel of the VA, and we transitioned over to the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, and through them we worked to get basically the military ID cards. They call them PIV cards or CAC cards or CAC. Yeah. And that gives us access to VA data. So I log in and I can see the same things that people at Leeds can see, people at the outpatient clinic can see. So I can look at health records, I can look at their military records. We can look at a lot of things in that system, which help us develop better claims for veterans that come see us. Okay,
and right now the other communities don't have that access?
So they're starting to, yeah. So Mike
yeah.
recently got his PIV card and has gotten accredited I don't know how long ago, but we set the trend, really. The only other office that's close to us, I would say, is Granby right now. who has, although they don't have it by title, they have someone there doing VA claims. They don't have a national service officer like we do. So if those people leave, you have to scramble to figure out how to fill that position with someone who's willing to do the extra work to get accredited.
Right.
Where in Holyoke, we have a bona fide position, the national service officer position, that has to be accredited to take the position. So yeah, we're about 5-6 years ahead of everybody else right now.
Now, who is that? Is that Wilfredo? Who's the officer?
Yeah,
now?
Wilfredo's a national service officer. Actually, in our office, we're all accredited. I'm actually an instructor for the National Association, so I made all the staff
Get-
take the training, get accredited,
they're all, okay.
and recognize. I'm like, well, because it's redundancy. So if someone jumps ship, like myself, you have someone that can still log in and do the extra work and pick up the extra work.
Now, how many employees do you have right now? 3?
So we're 3 FTE in the office.
3 full-time right now?
Myself and 2 more. Yep.
Okay, and the plan is to go to 4, possibly 5?
5 max at the end.
5, okay.
You're immediately going to go to 4, and then the 5th one will take some time to get.
Okay, and somebody will be, well, you leave, somebody will be taking over?
Yep, I've been
Is that
working
through the
with,
mayor? Or,
yeah, the mayor's going to work on appointing someone as an interim.
okay, and you'll be working with them before
Yeah.
you leave, because there's
Yeah.
only a couple weeks left.
There's a whole lot of working going on right now.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah. Counselor Puello?
Oh, yeah, I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. This is a good idea. It looks great. I think this is going to have to be reapproved again, probably with more concrete numbers later on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I think this is good.
And like I said, Counselor Bartley stated, you'll have to work with the law department, try to get the other IMAs and everything, and if you can get something before our next meeting with Hadley, any information, that might be helpful too.
Sure.
Not that it's going to change things, but just so that we know, we can report that out on Tuesday night.
Sure.
So, Mr. Chairman, make a motion that A, the order's been complied with, and B, we recommend to City Council that it approve the district.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
you,
Unanimous,
Councilors.
and we'll bring this to, if there's any possible way that you could, I don't know if you can get, this is online, to get this to the rest of the counselors?
I can.
Copies or send it to them?
Sure.
So that way they all have it and they'll be aware of it.
I'll get to Jeffrey and he'll send it out.
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Good luck in Illinois.
Yeah. You going near Chicago anywhere or what? Okay, okay. Can we, thank you, Mike.
At
You have a good night.
some point, I'll explain to you where the Phoebe is, but that'll be offline. That's from my Wisconsin buddies.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
Can we take 3 and 4 together?
motion
They're both,
be made to suspend our rules and take items 3 and 4 together as a
Second.
package off the table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, items number 3, this is from Councilor Puello, that the law department provide the opinion that has been pending for months to the next public service meeting regarding the ethics concerns around the council president's appointment by the mayor to the retirement board. That they please address all concerns, Mass General Law 286A, Section 20, in the 6-month waiting period after leaving office. Thank you. And item 4, but this was sent 2/7/23 from Michael D. Bissonette, Associate Solicitor, opinion regarding elected official appointment to the retired board. And this was tabled on 3/13/23, and I think we have that letter here from him. And we have Mr. Bissonette. And Councilor Puello, you want to start off? Mr. Bissonette is here online.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the reading. So I'm okay with allowing Attorney Bissonette to go ahead and let us, kind of explain what's going on here. Then I can go after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Attorney Bissonette?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, good evening, everybody.
evening.
Thanks for this opportunity to come in. I want to be as clear as I can about this. We in the law department jointly stand behind the original opinion that was rendered. I understand in reviewing the tape of the meeting that some counselors made certain statements concerning the depth of the work put into the opinion. We respectfully do not acknowledge that as an appropriate criticism. Let me just say that some folks seem to be under the impression that they're entitled to go opinion shopping. We don't do that. When a question is presented to the law department under the guidance of the solicitor, we join together and review what question has been raised. In this case, the question raised was whether or not City Council President, being a mayoral appointee to a state legislative body, is that appropriate and allowable? From the municipal side, it is. To that extent, we asked the council president to contact the Ethics Commission. He did and was advised, as they often do, that as an individual, he should file a disclosure disclosing that he is for the purposes of this, a public employee on the municipal side. He did not become a public employee on the state side, even though he's not taking a paycheck there or a stipend there. He has become a public employee on the state side. So on both sides, 268A applied to him as an individual, both as a state employee and as a municipal employee. However, the mere fact that he sits on the city council and the mayor decided to appoint him to a state authorized board creates no conflict. So with regard to sort of the analysis of let's take a look at the statute and start throwing statutory citations out and see what we can gin up here as a rationale, that doesn't fly for legal research because you have to put logic behind it, not just throw out citations. My final point, I guess, is more instructive. This is a situation where you're now sort of making, I don't know, aspersions about whether or not this is a conflict. Ethics is very clear. If you have a complaint against an individual and you have specificity in your complaint, please forward it to the Massachusetts Ethics Commission. Words like illegal and against the law have been thrown around in your chambers far too much this past year. And I'm hopeful that that will come to an end shortly. I see no purpose here. If any of you have a complaint that you'd like to raise against Mr. McGee's appointment or service to the retirement board, I'd be happy to share with you the phone number, website, or email address for the Mass Ethics Commission. But the city solicitor's office is not going to get involved in the middle of these types of arguments once it's rendered an opinion. So we thank you for the opportunity to be heard, and I simply am repeating to you our position from the law department and the solicitor that we're not going to engage in opinion shopping. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Bissonnette. Councilor Puello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's just so hard not to get frustrated with this law department just consistently. I mean, terms like opinion shopping, I mean, really? Asking the law department to do its job and render legal opinions on things, like that's opinion shopping? I'm glad that Attorney Bissonnette said that he watched the tape, because I watched the tape too. And one of the things he said at the last meeting was that at no time did we ask for a legal opinion. Well, here's the order. It says, can you please provide a legal opinion? Nobody's asking about ethics. Nobody's asking about going down to the state to talk to anybody about anything. We're asking for a legal opinion on whether or not this can be done. And if the tape was watched, which it allegedly was, there was a lot of other concerns that were raised that didn't have to do with state law. Section 23 of the Charter, holding another office under city government. Section 14 of the Charter, transactions. Section 2 of the Holyoke Charter. And if that's the case, that, we don't want to engage in opinion shopping, why didn't you mention that at the last meeting?
Mr. Chairman?
No, excuse me.
I'd be happy to engage
Excuse
with
me.
you.
He's talking, Councilor.
Over each one of those?
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
He's still talking, Attorney.
If that was the case, maybe you could have mentioned it 8 months ago instead of 2 months before the term's supposed to be over, because I'm going to use the C word. What this looks like, it's straight up corruption, is what this looks like. Why are you waiting? I mean, it looks like you're trying to run the clock out. Why are you waiting 2 months before the term is over? You had 8 months to say this. Why did you tell us you were going to get an opinion back? Why did you say that at the last meeting? And it's just consistently with this law department over and over and over again. I watched the tape, and we all raised concerns, and we told them, hey, can you come back in 45 days? Yeah, no problem. We didn't provide a legal opinion because at no time did the order ask for one. Well, we did it in the committee. Here's the other order that says that the full council approved. We sent it over to the law department. I made the motion. No legal opinion. We get the same regurgitated letter all over again. And it's pretty clear what this is. Like, why are people constantly trying to be cute around the city? All the time. It's pretty clear what this is. We're running out the clock 2 months before. If this was somebody else, I guarantee you we'd probably get an opinion, not 35, not 45, 10, we'd probably get it the next day. But, I mean, here we are again. And, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but I refuse to accept that. They need to provide a legal opinion. I would make the motion that they go back, again, provide the legal opinion that we requested. Do your jobs. Do your jobs down there is what needs to happen. I mean, if we could go back, I'd probably make the motion to defund the law department. Like, really? Go back and provide the legal opinion that we've requested. Like, this is ridiculous. It's unbelievable. It's just consistently with this law department. So that would be my motion, Mr. Chairman. And one more thing, if we could, like, I would also make the motion that we send this over to the mayor's office, because, I mean, he probably should be aware of that the law department, they're either rogue or they're operating under his direction on this. So, I don't know. I'd make the motion that they go back, I mean, at the next meeting. Can you provide a legal opinion at the next meeting? You said last time you could. Can we do that?
Counselor, we said that we would give you a legal opinion when you asked on the residency issue. You were provided that within a week. So this is a whole different issue. Don't conflate the two. And if you use the word corruption again, I'd ask you to look in the damn mirror. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Good. We don't need this kind of back and forth now. If that's what you want to do, Attorney Bissonnette, can we get a legal opinion provided on this issue for the next meeting?
The city solicitor has instructed me to tell you no.
Why is that?
I've explained it. Watch the tape.
Just a letter, so in other words, we can't get a legal opinion.
You already have one, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we have a letter.
Because counselors do not like it, doesn't mean it doesn't provide the information that you asked for. I can't help it if the counselors don't like the ruling. That's not our job.
Mr. Chairman?
We're not here to make you happy.
Councilor
We're here to
Puello.
provide
Thank-
interpretation of the law.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, this isn't a legal opinion. This is a letter saying, just regurgitating the information that they told us. This isn't an opinion. And if this was an opinion, why did they say that at the last meeting instead of waiting 8 months later? Why didn't they say at that meeting, hey, you know what, you've already got the opinion, there it is, you know, why don't you ask for a second one? They said, okay, yeah, in 45 days we'll come back and give you one. We need an, like, this is, I mean, come on. We need an opinion, Mr. Chairman.
Can we get that with stating the laws and the chart of the sections, why this can be, the council president can serve on this? Is that possible, Attorney? Or is it just going to be stuck with?
Certainly, yeah. We're going to ask PIRAC to do it, and they're going to give us a bill. You know, we've been trying to avoid outside counsel, but there are members of this particular council that seem to think that, you know, we can just continue to go on. In fact, one counselor asked for a bill about how much outside counsel on a particular case. So we're putting that together for your next meeting. But don't think these actions by the council don't cost money, just because occasionally the city's lawyers can go into court and take care of it without having to bring in outside counsel.
Can I just...
Okay, Councilor
Mr.
Puello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just again, I want to reiterate, this should be free. This isn't a legal opinion. We have yet to get a legal opinion from the solicitor's office. We should be getting a free paper. I mean, I don't have my budget book, but there's a lot of money that goes into this office. We need a free legal opinion from the law department. Not something from PARAC, not something from anyone else. The motions, the orders say, can the law department please provide an opinion? Please provide an opinion from the law department about the section. Nowhere in this letter do we address the concerns on the charter. Nowhere. The law department needs to provide that.
It is not a charter, Mr. Chairman. Where is this a charter issue? I asked Councilor Puello, let's go over each one of your concerns one by one, shall we? Why don't you read them off to us and let's talk about them?
Yeah, sure.
This is a good time to discuss it. Go right ahead.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead.
why don't we start off with
Let's do
section
this
23,
now.
holding another office under city government?
It's not under city government, it's a
Okay.
state office.
Well, can you
Next.
provide that? Can you provide that in writing, please?
Can you read? It's a city office. Where does it say?
Yeah, you drop your glasses,
Where
Mike.
does it say State Retirement Board? Well, it's
So-
hard to make a point when you're not reading what the words say. You're reading what you want the words to say.
Well,
You know?
can you provide that in writing, please? What's the
Well,
problem?
isn't that the city charter you're reading from? how would that apply to the state retirement board? I want to hear that logic.
Well, tell me it doesn't in writing, please.
I just did, but I'd be
No.
happy to do that.
Well,
If we could do it in writing, yeah, my counselor,
Sure. Another question, Mr. Counselor Puello? Another question, please?
no,
Need some help
that was the
there,
chairman asking.
Counselor?
That wasn't me.
Attorney Bissonnette, we're not going to go back and forth here. I mean, if it's possible
Well, I want
to,
him to be very clear about what he wants, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think he
seems
did
to
send
have
it.
very specific questions, and I want to answer them for him. I don't want him to be confused at all. So if you could elucidate what it is that's bothering him, tell us chapter and verse, sir, and we'll go over them.
So can I, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, this is the last thing I'm going to say on this issue, because obviously, like, this is just getting really, really, really ridiculous. I think if the attorney said he watched the tape for the last meeting, I think he should have all the information that he really needs. Like, now he's just trying to be cute, with all due respect. Like, there was counselors that are much smarter than me, that are attorneys, that sat here and brought up issue after issue after issue after issue. And the attorney said respectfully that he'd provide the opinion. Like, now we're trying to turn this into this big convoluted thing. It's like, you agreed that you would provide one 8 months ago, and then you sat, what really happened, and it's important for people to know that, you sat on this for months, and now it's 2 months before the end of the term. You sat on this for months, and you didn't say anything, like, I mean, really? So this is the last thing I'm going to say on this. Like, if we could please get an opinion, that's my motion. I mean, I wouldn't restrict it to 45 days. Like, this needs to be done immediately. My motion would be for the next public service meeting.
is that possible, attorney, to get?
I'm not going to commit the law department. I've explained to you what the solicitor has said. You can take that however you want.
Oh, so we won't get an opinion. You're just going to give the letter then to his questions then. Sounds like he's not going to do it. I mean, I can't make.
I don't know at what point what we do, but the full council. I mean, the full council voted on this at the last meeting, and it says that the law department provide the opinion. So, I don't know. I don't know what the next step is if the law department just goes rogue and refuses to provide an opinion. I don't know.
Rogue, go rogue. That's interesting.
Counselor Bartley, you have any comments?
Yeah, I guess I'll make a couple brief ones.
Okay.
I'm just gonna, listen, just so everybody know, I mean, I've been there before, back and forth with department heads, so I know how it is, and staff and all that. And I hope everybody can shake hands at the end of it. That's one, because I've done it myself, and I get it. For a city employee to give an ad hominem attack, though, Mr. Chair, for example, look in the mirror, that's beneath his dignity. I think there's, possibly an apology should be in order. Relative to what my friend Mike said about a quarterly bill, Mr. Chair, just as a point of order, that was an order we passed as full city council, signed by the mayor, for the law department to give quarterly reports on the planning board's use of outside counsel. So this should not be a surprise for the law department. And for the side remark that I just heard, it's disappointing. And here's how you figure that out. Contact the city auditor and she'll send you a tape, and then you send a memo. It's not that hard, but if we have to, I mean, truthfully, that's kind of ridiculous. My only one small point on this matter, Mr. Chair, when you read 268A, Section 20, just the plain language says, no counselor shall be eligible for appointment to such additional position while a member of said council or for 6 months thereafter. It's the Holyoke Retirement Board. It's not the State Retirement Board, it's the Holyoke Retirement Board. So I'm not understanding how that language is unclear. And on top of that, I would say to my friend through the chair, Attorney Bissonnette, I see the letter of, it says dated February 23rd, but it's stamped as received February 3/22, stamped as received February 3rd, 23. So it might have been a typo on the law department's letter. In addition, Councilor McGee himself contacted the State Ethics Commission for advice on the matter. Following their guidance, he submitted a voluntary disclosure. Well, how do we know Councilor McGee submitted it? How do we know what the opinion was? Well, we don't. Now, that's a function of the State Ethics Commission, Mr. Chair. And if you recall, on the microphone, I said during the meeting, Councilor McGee, and this is in response to what Mr. Attorney Bissonnette just said to Councilor Puello, contact the State Ethics Commission, and he ought to know better. But I said during that meeting, Councilor McGee, do I have your permission to contact the State Ethics Board? His one-word answer was no. That is on the tape. So when I hear a law department, a gentleman whom I have tremendous respect for, say just go ahead and contact the State Ethics Board, without the cooperation of the allegedly offending party, you go nowhere. Mike knows that. And now I hope the public knows that. So go back and watch the tape again. I asked specifically of the chair when I was sitting right there, do I have your permission to contact the State Ethics Board? He said no. So that is going to be a roadblock for any third party to get anything from the State Ethics Board. That's just the nature of how they work. And for a non-lawyer to figure that stuff out, I mean, for a lawyer to figure it out, I mean, unless you're really steeped into, 268A litigation, I mean, it is pretty tough. So it's one of those things where I think you have, I don't think it was an unreasonable request just to get a legal opinion. Maybe the way to do it would have been to say, have the counselor come up to the law department, maybe talk it out, flesh out exactly what it is you want to see, and go from there, instead of radio silence for 6 months. Now, I get what the law department attempted to do to the counselor in question. It was a despicable act by the law department and the mayor. They lost, and now they're mad. Well, boo-hoo. You got slapped down hard by a Superior Court judge. Boo-hoo. Take your medicine and go home. By the way, you notice, Mr. Chair, that braggadocio law department never appealed that decision. So the big shots and the big mouths I hear, all the tough talk, go look in the mirror. That's nonsense, Mike. They didn't appeal it. So they lost that one. They got slapped down by the Superior Court judge. Come in here, big shots. We don't agree with it. We'll appeal it. No appeal. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents on that one, Mr. Chair. Sorry for losing my temper.
Well, I think we're at an impasse here. I don't know, with Councilor Puello, do you want to meet with the law department, or
I mean,
personally, or I don't know if we're going to get anything from them as far as a legal opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, if I mean, whatever, I mean, yeah, I guess I could talk to the law department offline, but I mean, I don't even know. I mean, does Attorney Bissonnette have anything else after that, or are we still at doing the same position, or?
is that possible, Attorney, to him with your questions, and you can follow up with him on your answers, what you look at as far as the charter or the sections or the different rulings for sitting city councilor being on a retirement board?
Be happy to talk to Councilor Puello. Be happy to talk to him.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess that works for me. I would absolutely prefer something in writing, since the full council, we asked for the opinion. We did ask for that, and I mean, I think it's outrageous not to provide it. But yeah, I'll definitely speak to Attorney Bissonnette offline. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Go, Councilor, or Attorney.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to apologize to the committee for losing my temper. Sometimes I get a bit excited, but I want to try to be clear. And David Bartley knows this as well. In our business, to be called corrupt, to hear the word corruption thrown at an attorney is very, very troubling. And it's not something I take lightly, particularly given my background. So if I go off at you when you say something like that, or call something that I may have done illegal, you're going to hear from me. You may not like it, but I've been tasked to give my honest opinions, and I'm going to react honestly as best I can. So to say there's some kind of conspiracy or corruption going on because you don't like the timing of something, I'm sorry. That's not what's happening here. And when I say file a complaint, I mean just that, not an inquiry. If you have something that says this is a conflict of interest pursuant to 268A, file a complaint with the State Ethics Commission. You don't need the person who's committing the conflicts permission to do that. So I'm glad I had an opportunity to clear that up. I'll be very happy to talk to Councilor Paulo or any other council that has questions about this. And I'll talk to my supervisor about whether I can go to a full written opinion on it beyond what we've already submitted. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thanks so much.
We accept your apology, and I do say, me, chairman of the committee, anybody that speaks negatively about any department head, especially what Councilor Puello said about you being corrupt or the department being it, I agree that was uncalled for, so I apologize for that. But Councilor Bartlett.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on what Mike said, and, you know, Mike's a friend of mine, I know Mike for a long time. I want to agree with what Mike said about you know, I heard the word corrupt. I don't know if anybody was saying it specifically, but let's leave that to the side. Mike and I will, I think, both agree that whenever we get correspondence from the Board of Bar Overseers, I get one letter a year, and I know what's in the letter. It's my bar card. But I still get nervous when I open it because they are something. They are really something, and with a tremendous amount of power. Just relative to 268A, it is true that somebody could make a complaint, but it's also true that without the offending party's cooperation, and this, let's just use real names, the city council presidents, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to get any kind of a bottom line opinion on this. It just is impossible. So. I heard what Mike said, but I respectfully disagree on that point. Thank you.
Councilor Puello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to apologize to the committee and apologize. The Attorney Bissonnette, I lost my temper a little bit, but also, like, I don't know, like, this has a serious perception problem, okay? Like, when we don't respond for months and we just kind of leave this floating, and now we're like, it has a perception problem. Like, okay, I apologize for calling it corrupt, but it has a perception problem. So, I mean, I don't know. I hope we can talk about it and figure it out. And, yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you.
I just hope we can maybe they can shake hands after when they meet today, right?
Always.
Mike, and maybe we all got to work together here, and
Absolutely.
It's important. We can have disagreements, but you know, we have to work together. I mean, I'm only here for a couple of more months, and Councilor Puello's only here for a couple more months. Councilor Bartley, hopefully, we're here for a few more years. Well, we'll see. Leave it up to the voters, but I appreciate that, and whatever you can sort of hash out here, Attorney Bissonnette, and talk. It's a learning process for me, and I think you know, the bottom line is that we have to show respect for each other and try to work together to try to get our answers that we've asked for, especially that Councilor Puello's asked for since February. So hopefully we can get that resolved. So motion that these two items been
Motion that's been complied with, Mr. Chairman.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you everybody, and thank you,
to adjourn.
Councilor. Motion adjourned. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We
Good
stand
night.
adjourned. Have a good evening, Attorney.